I just got back from this place. I'm not sure anyone's ever heard of it before. It's very low key, but I just got back from Austin, Texas. So yeah, just kidding. That was a joke. But yeah, so Austin was cool, really cool. I usually hate vacations. I was there for 2 months. But this was really the first vacation that I've really ever taken that I wasn't excited to come home. I mean, like, I know it's like cliche to say that it's an awesome city and everything, but it really was. And it really just, it felt like a place that I want to be. And I felt like a place that I could be long term. And coming back here to Hoboken, this was the first time that it just didn't feel like home. Seeing everyone walking around with like the double masks, and now this vaccine passport's coming out. I don't think that Hoboken and New York really aligns with my goals and where I see myself in the future. So just like every other asshole out there, I might be moving to Austin, Texas in the future. So anyway, my biggest knock on Austin, Texas is the tipping culture. It's insane. So they literally make you tip for everything. Like, someone will pour you a scoop of ice cream. It'll be like a $7 ice cream, and they'll be like, oh, how much do you want to tip us? And I guess the crazy part is that no single establishment in Austin, Texas accepts cash. It's all credit cards. So they have their little like flippy machines, and they'll just like flip it and be like, oh, how much do you want to tip us? And it's funny because you're not even allowed to touch it, I guess, because of the pandemic. So they don't let you touch the machine. So they just like flip this iPad over, and they just ask you how much you want to tip. So you basically have to tip for everything. It's insane. And if you don't, you have to look them dead in the eye and be like, no, I don't want to tip, which is so awkward. I did it a couple times. I mean, look, we went to this ice cream place, right? It's like $7 for 2 scoops of ice cream. It was like decent ice cream, whatever, but $7 for 2 scoops. And the thing is we asked if we could get the free samples of ice cream, and the guy said no. Like, he's not giving free samples. And then he literally, he swipes the credit card, and he literally asks. He literally said to us, he looked me dead in the eye and said, would you like to leave a tip? I'm just like, dude, you didn't even give me a free sample. Like, what did you do? What? How did you earn that tip? It's insane. I mean, so just so much tipping. Like, you get a little coffee, you got a tip, ice cream tip. Everyone's got their goddamn handout down there. So that's one of my big issues with Austin, Texas. So I'd go to this coffee shop every day. Everyone who works at the coffee shop is like these little like, hipster, just beta boys, whatever. They got their blue hair, they're serving coffee. So anyway, I go to this coffee shop, and I'd be like, hey, can I have a large black hot coffee? That's my order. Large black hot coffee. And the guy looks at me, he goes, do you want the 12 ounce or the 16 ounce? I was like, I'll have a large. He's like, do you want the 12 ounce or the 16 ounce? I was like, dude, like the large, like, I don't know, if you can't figure out when I say I want the large, if I would want the 12 ounce or the 16 ounce, like, you're out of your mind. I mean, it's insane. So anyway, I had this like running joke with myself. I would go to the same barista every single day, and every single day I would say, I'll have a large black hot coffee, and every single day he would say, do you want the 12 ounce or the 16 ounce? Like it was insane. Like, I don't know if he was just messing with me or what, but we just had this standoff, and I'd be like, I'll take the large. And he'd be like, do you want the 12 or the 16? The large, and then like every other blue-haired barista down there, they put their hand out and ask for a tip after. It's like, dude, I'm not giving you a tip. I mean, you're messing with me now. So another cool thing about Austin, which I guess I loved, is that I lived in a house with 5 guys, which was pretty cool. Haven't done that since college, and definitely something that I miss. It's not something that I could do long term, but for a short amount of time, living with 5 guys was just awesome. One of them was my brother, which was great. So I got to hang out with him a lot. So then one of the other guys, his name's Austin. He's like he's really into Bitcoin, right? So I was sort of forced to hear about Bitcoin, and I've always been into Bitcoin. I've always loved it from a point of view of like sort of like what it does and like the decentralization of it, and just sort of getting away from governments being able to manipulate money. So I'm in on the Bitcoin Ponzi scheme. I'm also, you're looking at the only guy probably in the history of Bitcoin right now that's lost money on Bitcoin. I think I bought it at like 59. It's at 58 right now. So I'm down on Bitcoin, which is pretty hilarious, but nonetheless, I think it's going up. I'm in on Bitcoin. So I'm going to be one of these obnoxious guys who is going to be talking Bitcoin. And now to me, if I could make one pitch on Bitcoin. So one of the coolest aspects of Bitcoin is that there is only a finite amount of it, 21 million to be exact. And at this moment in time, about 19 million Bitcoin have already been mined, meaning there are only 2 million Bitcoin left. And after that, no more will ever be put into circulation. Now listen to this. Worldwide, there are only about 47 million millionaires. So you know what this means? This means that most millionaires will never own a full Bitcoin, especially because 19 million have already been accounted for. Most millionaires will never own a full Bitcoin. Think about how crazy that is. It's wild. So, so of course I don't have a full Bitcoin either. I decided that at the very least, I'll have one Ethereum. And now what I'm just going over in my head is, do I want to just take everything and just put it into Bitcoin and just so I could just have one Bitcoin? Because I do think it would be really cool to have one Bitcoin. And at the price of like 59K, which is what it is at this point right now, like it's feasible to get a Bitcoin. And, like there will be a time probably in our lives where the thought of even owning a full Bitcoin would just be like insane. Because like I said, you can never make more Bitcoin. That's it. There's going to be only 21 million Bitcoin. So most people won't have a full Bitcoin. So at 59, 60, you could still hypothetically get one. Something to think about. Hopefully ETH becomes a thing, and then I could always at least say that, well, I don't have a full Bitcoin, but I have a full Ethereum. And lastly, here's some final thoughts, especially since coming back to New York where things are a little more locked down. Despite what you may think, the smarter you are, the more easily you are to be propagandized and manipulated. Think about this question. Is it easier to train a smart dog or a stupid dog? Obviously, it's easier to train a smart dog. And it really just makes sense when you think about it. Like, how do you get A's in school? You get A's by doing what you're told, putting your head down, and not asking too many questions. And well, ironically, most of those A students become doctors, scientists, and lawyers. It's funny. We live in an age where there's two teams, right? Let's call them the red team and the blue team. Hypothetically, of course. The red team thinks that the blue guys are getting manipulated, and the blue team thinks that the red guys are getting manipulated. Well, do I have news for you? At the end of the day, both sides are getting manipulated. But if you want to know who's more susceptible to the manipulation, it's probably the team that thinks they're the smart ones. The ones that maybe live on the coasts, the ones that probably have more of a college degree. Like I said, it's easier to train a smart dog than a dumb one.